Okay, we're getting back to it. We're still in electronic recruiting, human resource management. This is a learning objective 5.5 still. Second paragraph of electronic recruiting. Of course, smaller and less well-known organizations may not attract any attention to their own websites. Thus, for them, this is not a good option. A second way for organizations to use the web is to interact with a large, well-known job board site such as Craigslist, Monster, or LinkedIn. These sites attract a vast array of applicants who submit standardized resumes that can be searched electronically using key terms. Applicants can also search for companies in a similar fashion. Each of these sites has its advantages and disadvantages. Since it is the most widely used, ads on Monster.com are viewed by thousands of potential applicants. But if not properly written, ads here can generate a large number of poorly qualified applicants. Craigslist is better for local ads focused on freelance or part-time workers, but some users complain that it's too unregulated and susceptible to fake ads or scams to try to rip off applicants. LinkedIn is good for professionals and allows you to link into existing social networks. However, most of the people on this site already have jobs and hence they may be costly to recruit. Many LinkedIn entries also tend to become obsolete quickly because unless they are looking for a job at the moment, many people fail to regularly update their data. Social networking sites such as Facebook are yet another avenue for employers to reach out to young workers in their own environments. I was mentioning this earlier. Facebook does not allow employers to create pages as members, but it does allow them to purchase pages in order to create what is called a sponsored group. Unlike more formal media, the conversations held there are very informal and serve as an easy first step for potential recruits to take their relationship with the company. The downside is that the privacy of those conversations cannot always be guaranteed, and the ability to prevent applications or other organizations from commenting on your ads may make it difficult to control your image. However, it is critical to make sure that advertisements on outlets like Facebook do not discriminate based on age. Advertisements aimed at recruiting employees are qualitatively different from advertisements aimed at consumers. Target segmentation is a best practice when it comes to consumers, but a potentially illegal practice when used with employees. For example, one recent undercover investigation found that dozens of companies who bought Facebook ads aimed their message to potential workers within limited age ranges. Applicants who are over 40 years of age could not even access ads, which is a clear violation of the Age Discrimination Act. Okay. Next, we're moving into public and private employment agencies. The Social Security Act of 1935 requires that everyone receiving unemployment compensation be registered with the local state employment office. These state employment offices work with the United States Employment Services, ASES, to try to ensure that unemployed individuals eventually get off state aid and get back on employer payrolls. To accomplish this, agencies collect information from the unemployed about their skills and experiences. All right, we're going to take a second, quick breather to digest some of this information, and then we're going to delve further into public and private employment agencies. Okay. Had to wet my whistle, now we're back at it. Employers can register their job vacancies with their local state employment office, and the agency will attempt to find someone suitable using its computerized inventory of local unemployed individuals. These databases were overrun during the COVID pandemic because of the unprecedented supply of workers relative to the demand. However, in more routine times, the agencies make referrals to the organization at no charge. And these individuals can be interviewed or tested by the employer for potential vacancies. Because of certain legislative mandates, state employment offices often have specialized desks for members of underrepresented ethnic and racial groups and individuals with disabilities and Vietnam-era veterans. Thus, this is an excellent source for employers who feel they are currently underutilizing any of these subgroups. Historically, unemployment compensation did not pay enough to compete against a full-time job, and so typically people were anxious to get off the government assistance and back onto payrolls. However, during the COVID pandemic, the federal government stepped into state-run programs and unemployment compensation was raised by as much as $600 a week. For over half of the recipients of aid, this was more than they could get from a full-time job. The purpose of this additional pay was well intended in the sense that the government wanted to make sure people did not rush back to work even if they were still contagious. However, it simply did not make sense for many people to take a real job given the circumstances, and so the employers were frustrated because this prevented them from reopening their businesses. Public employment agencies serve primarily the blue-collar labor market. Private employment agencies perform much of the same service for the white-collar labor market. Unlike public agencies, however, private employment agencies charge the organization for the referrals. Another difference between private and public employment agencies is that one doesn't have to be unemployed to use private employment agency. One special type of private employment agency is the so-called executive search firm. These agencies are often referred to as headhunters because, unlike the other sources we have examined, they operate almost exclusively with people who are currently employed. Dealing with the executive search firms is sometimes a sensitive process because executives may not want to advertise their ability for fear of their current employer's reaction. Alright. That is a good spot to... Actually, no, we'll do one more section. Why not? So, our next section is colleges and universities. Most colleges and universities have placement services that seek to help their graduates obtain employment. Indeed, on-campus interviewing is the most important source of recruits for entry-level professional and managerial vacancies. Organizations tend to focus especially on colleges that have a strong reputation in areas for which they have critical need, chemical engineering, public accounting, or the like. Also, because recruiting is increasingly being done via remote means, the lower need for physical presence on campus has allowed many firms to expand their circle of schools far beyond what they did in the past. For example, colleges with strong reputations in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM, have been inundated with employers desperate to find workers with these skills. Research estimates that the demand for these workers is going to rise 15% between now and 2022. And this source of talent is critically particular given the limit on the HB1 visas that we discussed earlier. Many employers have found that to effectively compete for the best students, they need to do more than just sign up prospective graduates for interview slots. One of the best ways to establish a stronger presence on a campus is with college internship programs. These kind of programs allow an organization to get early access to potential applicants and to access their capacities directly. These programs also allow applicants to gain first-hand experience with the employer so that both parties can make well-informed choices about fit with relatively low cost and commitment. Employers trying to lure college talent also find that programs that help students pay off their college loans are powerful tools. The Federal Reserve Bank estimates that there's $1.5 trillion in student loan debt that needs to be paid off. and increasingly high organizations are willing to take on some of the debt in return for commitment from the student. For example, Abbott Laboratories will set aside an additional 5% of a new hire's salary in a 401k-like investment if the employee is willing to place 2% of his or her salary in the same vehicle. Abbott hires over 1,000 college students every year, and the tax implications of this program make it cheaper than raising salaries, while still attractive to students. All right, so I think this is a good spot to stop. Now we can squeeze a little bit more out of it. So last section is evaluating a quality of source. Because there are a few rules about the quality of information given for a source vacancy, it is generally a good idea for employers to monitor the quality of their recruitment sources. One means of accomplishing this is to develop and compare yield ratios for each source. Yield ratios express the percentage of applicants who successfully move from one stage of the recruitment selection process to the next. Comparing yield ratios for different sources helps determine which is best or the most efficient for the type of vacancy being investigated. All right, that's the end of Chapter 5.5, Learning Objective 5.5. So we will move on to Learning Objective 5.6 after this.